Just a day, Meta's Threads has gained over 30 million users, making it the most downloaded social media app in history. But Twitter's Elon Musk has fired back with threats of legal action. Let's bring in now Newsroom Afrika's Nick Anderson, who has been closely following the developments in the story. Nick, it's pretty clear Meta has had a successful launch here.
They have, and you don't get much more successful than this, Clement. This is billionaire beef of the highest order. It is now, Threads is the fastest downloaded app of any point in time. To give you an example of just how big and how much of a success this has been, Twitter took 1.5 years to reach 1 million users of the app. That's what Meta went, that's what Threads has done in just an hour and a half.
Wow.
That number you mentioned there, 30 million within 16 hours signed up for the app. Pretty easy because you come across from Instagram, you port your account over. That number is reported to be over 50 million now. And again, we're only just launched on Wednesday. We're 3 days in, and the numbers are surging. So a massive, massive success in the time where these two billionaires are really going head-to-head.
How much of this success also has to do with just what Elon Musk has been introducing on Twitter? A lot of the Twitterati haven't been happy with the changes he's bringing up.
Exactly. Some of the analysts are describing it really as the perfect timing for Meta and Instagram to have launched something like this. We remember a few days, and especially us in the media as journalists, we go through often hundreds and hundreds of tweets a day. When people are then hit with, you've reached your limits, you can't view anymore unless you pay, that is almost what the opposite of what Twitter has been and what Twitter has become known for. You don't get that on Instagram or any other platform. So then while there was that frustration, you mentioned on the claim some of the tech issues, some of the ads people are unhappy with that Elon Musk has brought since changing Twitter. And now you get this new service a week or two later where it seems like Twitter in its purest form. I mean, the similarities are so striking, and Elon isn't really happy about it.
Yeah, and we'll talk about why now he's approaching the courts. But what's the difference between Threads and Twitter?
So if you look at them side by side, not a lot. It really looks like a Twitter, like I mentioned, trying to be Twitter in its purest form. Some would say it's a copycat, and it really brings back a time to remember at the time when Instagram stories didn't exist. Snapchat was where people were posting stories. Instagram came across, again, under Meta and Mark Zuckerberg, and duplicated that, and now everyone posts Instagram stories. That was the area and platform dominated by Snapchat. So if you look through and you scroll through Threads, it really is a strikingly similar platform. And they've been open about how they are still looking to build a few things into this. This is really, really a launch phase. You cannot view trends, there are no hashtags yet, but people have really come across and taken to Threads in sheer numbers.
Is it a serious competitor for Twitter, though? How long do you think it's going to take before it can be a serious contender? Because Twitter is still leading far with, what, 350 million users or so?
You're right, 350 million, that's a long, long way to go.
Yeah.
If you're on 50 in just a few days, it bodes really well in looking to trying to get there, especially with unhappiness, and Elon Musk has become such a polarizing figure, loved by some and now fiercely hated by others. But if you're going across that time frame of trying to catch up, the makers of Instagram and the head of Meta's Instagram persona, who has run the launch for Threads also, he has said that basically, look, we know we've got a lot of people now, the launch has been more successful than we could have hoped, but in a month's time, 2 months' time, that's where it's going to be key to seeing are people still sticking around. Have they liked and enjoyed what they're seeing and thought, actually, I don't need to go back to Twitter, this is where I should stay.
Okay, so Elon Musk is not happy, he's threatening legal action. Why?
So Elon is saying straight out, and he put up a tweet where he basically said, look, competition is fine, but cheating is another thing altogether. And he really has come across and been quite decisive. So what they are doing is accusing Meta over the last few years of taking Twitter employees, basically poaching them, bringing them across, bringing people who will have key insider knowledge to how things work.
Didn't he lay them off, some of them?
Exactly. He laid so many off. And there's still people today who have been vocal in how that process was handled. So now he's basically said, look, you guys at Meta and Instagram have hired people who know our intellectual property, and you use them to build this new platform. Meta has hit back and said, that's not the case at all. We've been designing apps like this for years, which you know is true, as we mentioned earlier, how they duplicated Snapchat's model with Instagram stories. So it was more of a threat of, we could sue you if you don't stop using some of the things that we think you've taken from us. But argumentally, is there legal ground to stand on when you're looking at, like, in the social media world, when everyone copies each other?
Does Newsroom Afrika have an account on Threads?
Newzroom Afrika has a newly launched account on Threads today. You can find us at News, Newz 405. Newly launched a few hours ago, and we'll be sure to bring you all the updates and news from there if this platform develops, like we hope.
And just to be clear, you can be on both platforms, right?
You can. So when you go across, it's literally you have the option of porting your Instagram account, logging in, bringing it across that way, and it takes all your followers, your same profile picture bio if you want, and you can do it that way. You can be on Twitter.
That makes it easy for you to just move over.
Exactly. That's a key factor maybe how they got to that 30 million number so fast when you can just come across from your Instagram and there's a notification prompt too.
Well, okay. Lastly, Nick, is that fight really going to happen?
Well, the fight, if you listen to Mixed Martial Arts World and the UFC CEO, Dana White, he said he's spoken to both of them.
Yeah.
He said he's spoken to Zuckerberg and he's spoken to Musk. And he says both of them are keen. He said, we've seen footage of both of them training. Mark Zuckerberg has been doing it for the last year in jiu-jitsu, and Elon Musk is training too. So will it ever happen? We know the eyes will be on it if it does, especially now with the Twitter versus Threads beef.
That's going to be really interesting. Nick Anderson, thank you for coming through and helping us understand these two platforms and how they differ in this fight that we'll not only see in the ring, but we'll see it in the courts, but also on the social media streets as well.